Right. Welcome, everybody, to episode 30 of the Bergen Catholic Podcast. I'm Dan Long, BC class of 2003, joined alongside by my co-host Matt Rosa, BC class of 2008. And today we have as our special guest on the show, Greg Tramontozzi, BC class of 1988. Thanks for joining us here on the BC Podcast. Greg, talk a bit first about how your crusade brought you to Bergen Catholic and what that experience was like for you as a crusader here in the late 80s.
Yeah, that's a great question. First, thanks for having me, guys. So as far as my crusade, my brother always tells this story, and this is a true story. My dad grew up in Montvale and attended Pascagoula Valley, but his freshman year roommate at Villanova was a Bergen Catholic alum that he was so impressed by, but that he swore if he had sons, and if we continued to live in the area, that he would send his sons to Bergen Catholic. And on top of that, I grew up in Upper Saddle River, and a couple of the guys that you both know that my parents really thought the world of, and so did I. A couple of guys I really looked up to were Jimmy Canton, class of 85, who was a few years ahead of me, who was just, such a special guy. And then Brian Hughes, again, special guy that I have enormous admiration for. And then finally, I think kind of to seal the deal, my dad, I was a soccer player as a kid. And my dad took me to a couple of Bergen Catholic soccer games when I was in 8th grade. And, I'm 13, 14-year-old kid looking at all these superstars that are a foot and a half taller than me. But, guys, soccer legends that I ended up really admiring, Chris Unger, Greg Schwach, Joe Delicari, and that kind of sealed the deal. I knew I was all in at that point and really wanted to be a crusader.
So you actually just mentioned Brian Hughes, who was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about everything that he's kind of done for the admissions process here. So Greg, first, I want to thank you because you have walked the walk when it comes to being such an unbelievable steward of Bergen Catholic, specifically with the admissions effort. And you've done so much for our office over the last almost 10 years. We can't thank you enough. What has it been like for you with all of the boys having come here, with Michael being the first? I believe it was 2015 was when he started.
Correct.
To now you're finished with the process, your finals coming in with another 4 years. What has it been like for you to see where the school was, where the school's going, but what this whole process has been like for you?
So Matt, my brother and I always say, we mean this very sincerely, nobody's gotten more out of the school. We could never repay the school for the debt that we owe. So I'm just thrilled to be involved. And as you know, I've got my 5th son, Timmy, coming to the school as a freshman next year. It's a little bittersweet for us. But like the two of you, I've been involved with the school since the day I graduated, and I just love it. I love that you guys let me stay involved in some small way with the admissions process. I love all the touches that you and Amy and the team have incorporated as far as, the personal deliveries of the boxes. I see admissions. I see the school at a completely different level than it's ever been at. Much credit to Dr. Mahoney and to Mr. McElhenney. But to all the teams, the admissions team, the guidance team, the advancement team, these are people that and yourselves for sure that I have just enormous respect for. And just like the giants that I relied on as a kid, my kids have you guys to look up to. So it means a lot to me.
Greg, one of the things that you were just harping on, and you talked about giants. Well, I was honored to be part of a whole project with you guys with the Hall of Fame this year in honoring the class of 1959, the giants that came before us. Can you talk a bit about your participation with the Hall of Fame here at Bergen Catholic and how others can get involved and what goes into the whole process, whether it be from the nomination period to then going forward to hosting the actual event? What is that process like for those who don't know about the Bergen Catholic Hall of Fame?
Sure. So I got involved with the Hall of Fame back in 2021. J.R. Maloro was the chairman of the leadership committee for the Hall of Fame at that time, and was working with Mike Ferentz and Marge Quinn, and that was the team that I worked with for the first 3 years. Now Gerard Marin's involved, and I'm just so grateful to these guys. And by the way, got to give a shout out to Coach Jacobson, who started the Hall of Fame back in 1990, I believe, and is just such an unbelievable resource for the leadership team. We call on him for advice all the time, and he's been a source of great advice. But it's been a great team effort to try to recognize, the best of the best that this tremendous school that we all hold so dear to our hearts has to offer. So as far as getting involved, we just finished we had our 26th dinner and induction ceremony on March 30th, and we're already planning for our next ceremony is going to be on March 22nd, 2026. We've already kind of leveled out our nomination and selection committees, and we're going to be meeting with those committees in September and October and going through the process again. So the timing is really good for your question, because we're at that early stage of the 25-26 cycle where we're trying to generate additional nominations. We have some outstanding nominees that are in the hopper, but again, you're always trying to recognize the best of the best, and there's always somebody out there. We get this one common question, almost a complaint we get is, how the heck is so-and-so not in the Hall of Fame? And we always joke that more often than not, the answer is because no one's ever taken the time to nominate so-and-so. That's just the way our bylaws work, is we rely on nominations from, the school community, the school family. And so for folks that are looking to get involved, that's certainly one place, is if you know of a worthy crusader. And people get inducted for any number of reasons. For sure, we have athletes, and for sure, we're very proud of our athletic tradition. But we are equally proud of the fact that we have individuals who get inducted for contributions that they make to the school, either because they're longstanding teachers or administrators, or there's things that they do on the campus for us. We have another category for individuals that go in, we refer to it as the special category. For instance, we had a gentleman that was inducted just this March who started a hospital network in Uganda on his own dime. So blown away by this particular individual, and these are the kinds of things that as Crusaders, I think we can look on so proudly at. And then there's also a category for coaches, of course. We inducted our basketball coach this year, who was an unbelievable athlete in his own right, and now an incredible basketball coach and leader at the school. And then finally, a few years ago, we started to induct teams. We were, kind of late in my mind to the game of getting teams involved. And just a few years ago, we inducted our first team. And I guess true to Bergen Catholic form, it happened to be our 1991 national champion mock trial team. We were very proud of the fact that was the first team to go in. That was kind of a no-brainer for us. So for anybody that's looking to get involved, please, you can go to the school website, and under the alumni and alumni history tabs, you can find the nomination form there. We also incorporated, as you both know, there's an interactive touch screen honoring all of our Hall of Famers in the school lobby now. You can see that online at bergencatholichof.touchpros.com, and the nomination form is right there as well.
So, Greg, having been a part of so many different aspects of the school's history as a student, as an alum, as a parent, member of the Alumni Association, leadership for the Hall of Fame, you really cover so many different avenues. What is it that you hope is the legacy that you've left on Bergen Catholic? And what is the hope that you have that the legacy that your children have left with Bergen Catholic?
Well, the goal is always to contribute to and to continue the tradition. Dan had mentioned a segment that we did at the last induction ceremony. We called it the giants who came before us. We refer to always standing on the shoulders of the giants who came before us. I am not one of those giants, but I had the opportunity when I came to the school, very close with my soccer coach, Hugh Beattie, my tennis coach, John Puzio, both of whom are family to me, who I see all the time. And then there were the legends, the guys that you both know, the brother Jensens and the brother Zawatts and the Mr. Courtneys. I just, to the extent that I can make any contribution to that legacy of the school, I want to be involved in that. It's something that makes me feel very special. And as I said just a few minutes ago, I think the school's in just an unbelievable spot right now, and I'm really proud to be a part of that. So I guess Matt, to answer your question, I just want to contribute in any way that I can. And, we've got this special place for 14 through 17-year-old young men. And I just, whatever we can do to make it better, I want to be a part of it.
Well, Greg, you're definitely being humble there about not being a giant of your own ilk, but you are part of the chosen few that I want to get to as well, to be both Bergen Catholic and Georgetown University. And that continues a trend that we've had here on the podcast is fate would have it, or God wills it, that have a Georgetown connection here to the podcast. Now, Matt is not a big fan of that, but you mentioned Villanova for your dad and also Loyola for your son, so he shouldn't be that upset. But what was that connection like to be from here to then Georgetown, as we've had so many different pleasant guests join us this year on the show? What was that connection like, and how do you see the similarities between the two schools?
Well, Dan, I love it. I love the question. This connection that you and I have, and that Assemblyman Krista Phillips that we have as, Deus Vult and Hoya Saxa. Villanova got the Pope. Bergen Catholic it really prepared me for Georgetown. I loved my 4 years at Georgetown. I mentioned my dad's connection with his roommate, and he was so blown away by how prepared this Bergen Catholic alum was at Villanova. My dad was a super smart guy. For me, he was a legend, but a super smart guy. But he was blown away by his Bergen Catholic alum college roommate, because he was so prepared. And that's kind of how I felt when we got to Georgetown. I'm sure you felt the same way. It was a great school, great 4 years, certainly very challenging, but I felt like I was ready.
Well, that's just the tradition of leadership here at Bergen Catholic. Oh, Matt, would you like to say something?
I would, because you're not going to get me this time, because this is by far my favorite interview, because Loyola and Villanova were mentioned.
That's where I mentioned. It's like you got the shout out. I mean,
100%.
We just happen to save the best for last. Like that's
Danny, we're going to get the next Pope, Dan. That's
exactly. I mean,
that's our commitment.
We had a Jesuit, the last time around, but of course it has to be a Villanova Augustinian this time around. But, we all know it works out in the end. But Greg, thank you so much for joining us here on the Bergen Catholic Podcast, for sharing your story as a Crusader here, and then now what you're doing as an alum and as a parent. It was great to be able to hear how Bergen Catholic helped shape you and continues to shape your family. And thanks for taking the time out to join us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So that was Greg Tramontozzi, BC class of 1988, joining us here on the show. Stick around as we'll have more on episode 30 of the Bergen Catholic Podcast. Be sure to be up to date on everything that's going on in Crusader country by following Bergen Catholic on social media. You can follow BC on Facebook, Instagram, and X for all of your news related to BC. So again, follow Bergen Catholic on social media today. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 30 of the Bergen Catholic Podcast, where we're in our normal end segment as we take a look at the news, sports, and upcoming events here in Crusader country. Well, in this past week, it was a week where we honored the Bergen Catholic class of 2025, as in the middle of the week, they enjoyed their senior field day. Despite the horrendous weather conditions outside, Bergen Catholic seniors got to still enjoy field day competitions, playing basketball, frisbee, all other sports throughout the course of the day in Hale Gymnasium, as well as another grouping in the Mulligan Wrestling Room. And then Bergen Catholic honored their seniors on Friday, their official last day of class, by having a breakfast catered to them, followed by later their final school mass together as class of 2025. And then it culminated, Matt, in what has become an annual tradition for the Bergen Catholic seniors of the clap out, where Bergen Catholic seniors will walk around the entire building, where the rest of the classes with the students, the faculty and staff are out in attendance, clapping in applause and saluting the efforts of the seniors before they make their way to the exits and to the parking lot to go home early. It's a fun time to be around here for the Bergen Catholic seniors, who have really been enjoying a lot of the spoils of being seniors here at BC, thanks to the Senior Class Activities Fund.
Yeah, so it's a great opportunity to honor the seniors as they do exit the building for the last time as students. Because it is important to always remember they're always a part of the Brotherhood. It's just a different chapter and it's a different experience, where the Brotherhood now enters into the Alumni Brotherhood, which will be with them for the rest of their lives. But this is the last opportunity for them to be a part of the day-to-day of the community. And one thing that is different than when both of us were here is this dedicated effort by the parents to put together fundraisers throughout the year so that they can put together events throughout the year honoring the seniors as they approach this time. When we were here, it was you might have a class trip one day to Six Flags or wherever. You might have, we had the breakfast and the communion mass and breakfast. We had senior field day. We had like a dress down day with your college shirt, but that was really it. Where now they do a bunch of different things throughout the year. One of the things the fund also does, and I think this is really important as well, is it helps bring down the cost for prom, where they will put money raised towards the prom cost for the venue so that ticket prices can be lowered. So it's a very strategic way to make sure that every student has an opportunity to participate in these events, right? The mother-son brunch, that has a cost to it. Making sure the cost for that is as low as possible. Prom has a cost to it, making sure that is as low as possible. If there is a trip, right, like a Six Flags or another amusement park of some sorts, that cost is lower. And that is what the Senior Class Activities Fund that is driven by the parents does. So it's great to be able to have these events honoring the seniors, but then that final week, culminating at the school as a student. I think we both can think back to our time as students, as it really can be a very emotional experience for a lot of the students, especially this year. They have quite a bit of time between their last day of classes and their graduation, almost 3 weeks. So they have a lot of time in between before they're back on this campus again as a class. So being able to honor the class and being able to thank them for all of their contributions that they've given to the legacy of Bergen Catholic and their own class's legacy as the classes follow them, it's a great opportunity, and it was a great week for those students.
So if you want to see what we're talking about, you could go onto the Bergen Catholic Instagram and Facebook pages, and you could see for yourself a little bit of what that senior clap out was like. And it was really cool to be able to see and not only be the man behind the camera to show what was going on, but to see the pride that was on the faces of the seniors as they were going through the hallway and having so many people that they maybe have never met before and saluting them for their efforts here throughout the course of their Bergen Catholic careers. So the seniors will have some time to enjoy and rest up. As Matt, you just stated, it's going to be quite some time between now and June 7th when Bergen Catholic will have their commencement exercises on Jack McGovern Field. The Bergen Catholic Performing Arts program made history over the last weekend. Over in Hershey, Pennsylvania, the Crusaders came away with first place ratings for all 3 music ensembles. That includes the choral, chamber, and jazz ensembles. And the chamber ensemble won Best Overall Concert Band for the first time in program history. So a weekend of firsts for this performing arts program that has won their fair share of championship trophies over the years, but never have all 3 ensembles swept the competition. So it was utter Bergen Catholic domination in Hershey, and the chamber ensemble, again, the cherry on top, being named the concert band of the entire competition out of all high schools. This is just marvelous news, and it shows, again, the dedication and the hard work that is paying off. This is a credit to the performing arts program that continues to build on that momentum throughout the last couple of years.
I also think it's really important to remember where we started. When we were here, there were students who were very musically inclined, right? There were some students that were very talented. Jazz ensemble existed. Orchestra was a thing. But outside of having masses where you had a couple of people, students in the choir, and of course Mr. Gismond, we didn't really have a very strong presence in the arts. It is something that since Barbara Pereno has joined our community, what she has done in the 12 years she's been here has been amazing to watch, because not only is it something that we, from my office's perspective, can say, yes, we have a performing arts program, we actually can go in depth with students who are interested in the arts. We are flourishing in the arts. We all have known, since we were even in school, that certain schools have their flagships. And for a long time, and even probably to this day, when you thought performing arts at the Catholic schools, you thought St. Joseph's Regional. It's very hard now to be able to say that it's just them. And that's in a 12-year span, where for the first time in school history, all three of our ensembles won with first place ratings. We have a flourishing theater program where we partner with Hackensack Performing Arts Center, where we ourselves are putting on our own shows, dedicated auditoriums, dedicated playbills, sponsorship ads. We actually are doing these now, where students who are interested in the arts and are not interested in athletics have a place here. And we have flourishing programs for that. So it is exciting to see the continued success of the group and where this is going to go from this point forward.
And not to be forgotten, as you mentioned, we have alumni who have been recent Grammy winners. And those are those kids that back in the day, the only thing that was available to them was the jazz ensemble with Mr. Furlan. So you have the abundance of talent that's now starting to really percolate around here. And you're seeing the results in a case like this at the music festival competition in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which Bergen Catholic routinely goes to. And occasionally they'll have the different groups place here or there and win a championship, bring back some hardware, but never to this extent before. So it's showing not only the dedication that Bergen Catholic has put in and is paying off to the arts, but you're also attracting so many talented musicians and singers that are coming to Bergen Catholic that are trained already, and then getting that mentorship from the directors here. It's taking it to another level. And that was something that I always loved to be able to highlight when we had them as our featured magazine article last year about the performing arts program and how it's taking the next steps. And now to see that play out again after this last weekend, it's something pretty special, and it shows that there's something for everybody here at Bergen Catholic. Other news that's going on from this past week, the AP exams have been administered over the course of the last 2 weeks. That's why the library's been closed and you're having more and more kids taking morning and then afternoon sessions. The seniors will begin their exams, and as is the case, a lot of seniors get exempt from their exams based on academically how they've been doing throughout the course of the school year, while others still have to continue to take their exams. So you have all the hustle and bustle of exams being administered throughout the course of the last couple of weeks here at BC. And another big thing that happened news-wise, well, there's a reason why you weren't on the podcast episode last week. Congratulations, Matt, on your own graduation from Villanova.
I'm very surprised that you did not say the school from Pennsylvania.
It took a lot. I hesitated a bit.
I have to say, I am very impressed. You are wearing Villanova colors. I don't know if you realize that.
I say that these colors are more Johns Hopkins, but not Villanova.
You know, I walked into that one. That's on me. You know, that is on me. But yes, this past weekend, I did graduate with my master's. Villanova has a program that it's unique. It's the only school that has a program of its kind. It's almost 30 years old. It's a Master's of Science in Church Management, and it is a business degree through the School of Business. It has all of the professors that are in the business school, so accounting, management, but then it also blends in theology professors, ethics and philosophy professors, where take a nonprofit management degree and now make it faith-based. So it talks about operating church entities from a business lens. So it goes even further than what a nonprofit management program would do. The first class, I remember the faculty director, who's also my professor in 3 different semesters, saying that the Catholic Church and the church in general should be the model for every business to aspire to. And this program goes in depth on that. So it was a 2-year program, requires 30 credits. It was intense for sure. I did not take a break for 2 years. It was a lot. But I loved every minute of it. For people that are wondering, well, why would someone go for a degree like this? Being able to be a leader in Catholic entities, whether it's in schools and eventually being a president of a school or being a CEO of Catholic charities, that is something that has always driven me. My Catholic education and my Catholic faith has always been important, right? We joke a lot when we talk about certain things on the podcast, and I'm like, I can nerd out for a second. But it's always been very important to who I am. So to be able to say that I've been educated at the high school level from the Edmund Rice Christian Brothers, I've been educated by the Jesuits, my undergrad, and now to have the Augustinian values through my Villanova experience is something I'm very proud of. To graduate with a very close group of people. So we had people in my cohort that we had 23 in our cohort. It was actually the smallest, strategically the smallest cohort in the entire business school. They only take one section of 23, and I had people from all over the country and some who are international who are here for a period of time and then going back to their countries. And I had anybody I was the only school person in my cohort, but I had people that were chancellors for their dioceses on the West Coast. I had priests who were pastors or worked for the diocesan offices. We had a pastor of a Presbyterian church in Pennsylvania. We had a woman who's the executive director for the United Methodist Church in Fort Worth, Texas. And if anybody knows the Methodist Church, that is almost a business entity in itself. They have sometimes people on staff of almost 100 people. So it is a very large business entity. So a lot of us were able to really work very closely together. So community was very important. While an online degree, we had class 2 to 3 nights a week. Every weekend we had work that was due the following week, papers, case studies. It was very intense. It all culminated this weekend. So yes, it was a fun weekend, tiresome weekend for sure. But for our students, I think it's important too, because one of the things that I probably got the most out of my experience when talking about Bergen Catholic and the Brotherhood was 3 different semesters. Once from my theology professor, once from my accounting professor, and once from my information systems professor. We went around the room and introduced ourselves so they got to know us the first class of the semester, and I introduced myself and where I worked. Every single one of those 3, the first things that came out of their mouth were, "Oh, I've taught about a dozen of your students over the last semester or so no pressure." So there's quite a few Bergen Catholic students at Villanova, so you had to make sure you kept that up because you didn't want it getting back to them that you weren't the best student. So there's that pressure too, but it was an incredible 2-year experience, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
So between you becoming a dad for the first time, you graduating with a master's from Villanova, and myself finishing 3rd in my fantasy league this year, we both accomplished a ton of stuff this year, Matt. So kudos to you. And they thought this podcast would never make it episode 30 too. So we've done a lot. So that's a look at the news from this past week. Now we shift gears to the sports scene. BC baseball. I want to call myself out, I think, because I brought Coach Maggio onto the show. They were absolutely rolling and then hit a bit of a schneid here. They're 15-7 on the season. They lost in the quarterfinals of the Bergen County tournament. They are 5th right now when it comes to power points. So we're nearing the end of the cutoff for the regular season. If right now the season were to end today, BC would be the number 5 seed in the North Non-Public A sectional playoff. So that would get them potentially at least one home game and put them in the top side of the bracket. So BC baseball at 15-7. The crew team completed their season, and dating back to the Garden State Championships earlier this spring, that's where Bergen Catholic's crew program really took the next step that we've talked about on previous episodes of this podcast. At that Garden State Championships outside of Philadelphia, the BC team qualified 6 boats for the final. They had 3 medalists. This was the most successful spring season for the crew program, and we're going to look forward to seeing how this program continues to take off. And we invite more people to come out for the program, and you could go online on the Bergen Catholic website on the athletics page and the crew program page, and you could see how you can get involved and train with the team over the course of the summer, even if you're brand new to rowing. The golf team, 13-3. They finished 2nd at the counties. They will be facing Fordham Prep in their season finale for legendary head coach Jim Jacobson. So he'll be calling it a career, and BC will hope to send him out with another victory to over the 1,200 he's amassed in his illustrious career. BC lacrosse team 10-9 on the season. They're coming off a big win against Northern Highlands, and on the horizon this week they'll have matchups against Iona Prep and St. Joe's on the horizon. The annual matchup with Iona Prep is part of the Brothers Cup, as both institutions are Edmund Rice Christian Brothers schools, so BC is going to be trying to take down Iona Prep that just won another New York State championship in the Catholic school ranks. BC rugby team 3-3 on the season. They lost to Bridgewater in their state final over the weekend here at Crusader Stadium and Jack McGovern Field. But again, for this very young BC rugby program to appear in back-to-back state finals is something to be said. And again, much is the same what we've been talking about with a lot of these other programs. They're building the interest. And if you continually win and have these positive results, it's going to generate more and more interest from more student athletes. So rugby is on their way to becoming a perennial powerhouse program here. Taking a look at some more of the sports programs here in the spring, the track and field program, they're going to be competing in the County Meet of Champs this week as they have their eyes set on the state groups, which will be kicking off on May 31st and June 1st. The tennis program, maybe the most successful program, Matt, so far this spring. They're 14-1. They just finished third at the Bergen County tournament, and they are going to be taking on Seton Hall Prep and Dwight Englewood, two parochial powers, this week to finish off their regular season. And the volleyball program, 11-11 in a gauntlet of a schedule against some of the who's who of North Jersey. And right now, they would be in position for 11th place in North Group 3 when you look at the PowerPoints. So in running down the sports scene, what really jumps out at you for these Crusader teams that, again, you have a couple of league championships involved, but it's these young programs, for the most part, that are building on some of the successes of the regular season, hoping to make a little bit of noise when, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be kicking off the postseason.
I think, for me, I think the two biggest programs that it's incredible to watch their growth is the volleyball program and what Coach DeBellis has done in her second year running the program. I think it's incredible. The rugby program, that's a brand new sport. This is their third year as a program. And Coach Tim Downey, who's a Bergen Catholic alum, class of 07, he works tirelessly with that program to get these boys excited, energized, knowledgeable of the game, knowledgeable for the physicality of the game, because a lot of the kids that play on the team, they're not football players. They're not hockey players. They're not lacrosse players. They don't play a sport that is as physical as rugby. So to get those kids understanding and ready to go physically every year is incredible. But his pride and his passion for running that program, I've watched him come into gym classes and do a rugby class 2 or 3 times a year. He will literally find kids and go, "What sport do you play?" They'll say to the team, "No, you're coming out for rugby." Or he'll get the list of kids that might not make a team and have them come out for rugby. And he gets kids to participate because it's not just pride for his love of the sport, it's his pride because of his love of Bergen Catholic. Lacrosse. Listen, I've watched a lot of their games this year. They've had some tough one-goal games that have come wire to wire. I didn't really get to talk about it last week, but what a great win against Ridgewood in the county semifinal. A close matchup again with Don Bosco in the county final. Just a couple of things didn't go our way. Game kind of got away from us a little bit at the end. But for a young team, a young coach in his second year, he's already notched some big wins, including Ridgewood and now Northern Highlands, right? With the Brothers Cup coming up this week against Iona Prep, who is a New York power, right? They're kind of in the conversation every year. I mean, I think this year, the two teams in that area that are really have a stranglehold are St. Anthony's and Chaminade, like they always do. But the Iona Prep is always in that conversation. And then St. Joe's, right? Being able to cap off kind of a regular season with some big games and getting some big wins before getting into the postseason, I think is great. Crew, a great season for them overall. They continue to grow as a program. I know they have a lot of ideas on how they can continue to make their sport grow and get more interest and really get kids involved early, even before they're at Bergen Catholic, because crew is not an NJSIAA sanctioned sport. It's a club sport. So they can do a lot of things in the off season, not just with their own rowers, but getting kids from potentially other schools to participate and getting kids in middle school to participate. And they're coming up with a lot of interesting ways to build their program and to get kids interested in crew, but also Bergen Catholic. And I think I'm very excited to see where that program goes. I think their energy is great. Those are really the ones to talk about. I really won't go into the baseball one because you kind of said it yourself. I was not on that interview, so you kind of jinxed that one. Maybe I could have shifted the balance of power there a bit, but it's overall, our spring has been a very successful season, and I'm excited to see how it closes out.
So that's a look at the spring sports right now in the midst of some of the county tournaments, post-counties, and waiting for their seeds when it comes to state tournament time. Upcoming events on the horizon here at Bergen Catholic. Well, the award-winning choral group will be having a concert, their spring concert at St. Joe's in Oradell at 7:30 this week. So make sure if you're in the area to come out on Wednesday to see the choral concert this spring at St. Joe's Roman Catholic Church here in Oradell, 7:30 start time. Then Bergen Catholic will be closed for Memorial Day weekend beginning on Friday. So a nice long weekend for everybody here for the Crusader community. And it'll be reopening and classes resuming the following day on Tuesday after Memorial Day on Monday. So again, a shorter week this week with the day off on Friday, and then a shorter week next week with the holiday on Monday. And then next week on the horizon for the class of 2025 will be their senior prom on May 28th, as that will be at Florentine Gardens. So senior prom around the corner here as we're closing in closer and closer to commencement weekend, which this year is going to be on June 7th here at Bergen Catholic. So that'll do it for our 30th episode of the Bergen Catholic Podcast. Special thanks again to my co-host here, Matt Rosa. Congratulations, Matt, on your graduation from Villanova. For everybody else here in Crusader Country, I'm Dan Long saying so long, take care, and Deus Volt.